China is criticising the new security agreement between Australia and Japan. Beijing's foreign ministry is warning the federal government the new pact should not target or harm the interests of third parties or start a new Cold War group. Joining us live is Will Glasgow, the Australian's North Asia correspondent. Appreciate your time, Will. Does this new agreement actually undermine our relationships with Beijing at all? What's the argument here?
Well, Beijing says it threatens to undermine it. I mean, the signing that happened over the weekend was long telegraphed. This agreement didn't come out of nowhere. It's been years and years in the making. Beijing knew that. They've just expressed their unhappiness. I mean, it's a fact that Australia and Japan, both as American allies, both as significant players, significant states in the Indo-Pacific, China hates to see them coordinating and working together. Now, Canberra and Tokyo were really careful to try to not be explicit that this was pointed at China. But, I mean, the reaction from Beijing, it's not for nothing. Of course, this agreement is to do with their shared concerns about China's assertive or aggressive behaviour in the region. I mean, Fumio Kishida, the Prime Minister of Japan, did speak about Japan's concerns and daily problems with Japanese incursions in the East China Sea, and Australia's acknowledged that problem before. And Australia's got its own problems, well documented with China. So yes, they're working together. Yes, Beijing's not happy, but the Albanese government's made it very clear it's just going to get on with business. Try to do it quietly, but get on with it.
Well, I know you keep a close eye on the Chinese press, and I see that you reported in the Australian today that the China Daily had written, and I'll quote here, "The current Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, elected in May, has generally shown a positive attitude towards his country's ties with China by taking action to correct his predecessor's wrongs." Is there a broad view that the relationship is much more on track under the new Labor government?
No. No, I mean, that's, it's interesting they use that form of words. They're trying to, look, the Chinese state, they have been more positive in their language up to a point with Australia. There have been meetings that have happened. Partly the Chinese are trying to create, the Chinese state media are trying to create a rationale for why it is that Chinese leaders and ministers are now meeting with their Australian counterparts after not doing so for more than 2 years. So I think a lot of that language is about just trying to create the space for them to resume contact. I mean, China's relationship with Australia has got so terrible for it. They seem to be trying to walk that back a bit. They're trying to, the Australians are trying to stabilise it. The Chinese seem to be open to that a bit. But the fact, as happened over the weekend with this new agreement with Japan, none of the main policies on the Australian government have changed. So, I think I took that as a bit of hyperbole from the Chinese exaggerating very small changes in the Australian approach. But also, what we also saw was just the classic formula where they gave some praise for Albanese there, and at the same time warned him that if he did things China didn't like this agreement with Japan, there'll be consequences. So Australia's very much in tiptoey stage here, trying to calm things down a bit, but I think being realistic about what's possible here.